This video is brought to you by Grand Gamers Guild.
What a bloody month. There is no doubt in my mind that November is the year's best month for gaming. There's a couple of reasons for this. The first one is meteorological. November is the month where winter really starts to kick in. October is the colourful acme of autumn, where you're invited out by the colours of the season. Not that I don't have protracted periods indoors in October, but I have the decency to feel a little bit guilty about them. When November starts though, and you've had it up to your brow ridge with horizontal rain and the all-encompassing grey, the thought of sitting around a table with the people you find least annoying is very appealing. Then there's the behemoth that is S.E.T.I, the biggest reason that the game table is the most attractive destination in November. You go and buy all these games and they sit on your shelf, throbbing like the telltale heart until you get them played. And if you're anything like me, you rush to get them played. And so November is crammed with discovery of new things. I facilitate this desire for gaming by holding my annual convention in the Harz Mountains in November, CabinCon. Now, to call two dickheads on the piss in the countryside for 4 days of convention might be gilding the lily a little, but there is a hope that we'll expand it into a bigger affair in the coming years. Leave a comment if you want to come. It is a true vindication of all the time I spend with games. This is 4 days of exploration, imbibement and playing, sheltered by the mountains. This is what November is really all about. Of all the games mentioned in this video, not all of them were released at Essen, but they're all bloody brilliant. Well, let's get to it, shall we? And that was a rhetorical question, by the way. Greatest recapitulation of a different media into board game form, War of the Ring truly pays respect to the literature it's based on, unlike some more recent adaptations.
The sea is always right!
This game flawlessly tells the story of the Fellowship's journey from Rivendell to Mount Doom, except with the camera pulled out, so rather than tell the stories of a few, you're telling the story of the whole world. The players take on the roles of the Free Peoples or the Shadow, each with the goal of destroying the other, but they will take very different approaches to achieve their ends. The Shadow wish to rush in and flatten the major strongholds of the dwarves, elves and humans, while the Free Peoples can win an incredibly hard-fought military battle. Their main route to success is dropping off the ring at Mount Doom. This is just a brilliantly wrought asymmetric game. Each faction feels wildly different without the game feeling disjointed. There is a fabulous tension on both sides here. This was the first time I'd played the Shadow and fully expected the game to feel simpler and less profound, but not a bit of it. Marshalling your troops, deciding how much effort to expend on the hunt for the ring, judiciously using your resources during the cowardly sieges are all brilliant hurdles to leap over. I know Lord of the Rings pretty well and was appalled at the talentless liberties took in the Rings of Power series, but Roberto de Meglio, Marco Maggi and Francisco Nepatello have proved with this masterpiece that not only do they know Tolkien well, but they understand adherence to his story can result in something brilliant. J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay should take notes.
Do you know why a ship floats and a stone cannot? Because the stone sees only downward.
Fucking hacks. This game was super hot at Essen, and I picked it up spontaneously, and I'm so glad I did. At first glance, the game may feel overwrought with too many things crammed into it. Also, I will concede that learning it at first is monstrously counterintuitive. Play a couple of rounds though, and the flow of the game begins to cohere, and you realise that this is really very good. S.E.T.I is a game of science fact and fiction. You take on the roles of scientists looking for traces of life outside of our fragile planet, but at some point, and this is where the fiction kicks in, you will find those alien species and be given the chance to research them further. This is not a militaristic game. It assumes that humans value the pursuit of knowledge over blowing shit up, and this is where the game really descends into fiction. Still, S.E.T.I is a brilliantly designed Eurogame that borrows some mechanisms, i.e. area control, but wonderfully models sending out crafts into space to the benefit of all mankind. S.E.T.I is a techno-optimistic game in a world shitting itself over the ramifications of AI, and it's nice to live in that world for a couple of hours. What S.E.T.I fundamentally is, though, is far more old-fashioned than that. It is a fabulously designed game that is hugely engaging from the first play. I'm so glad my spontaneous purchase wasn't a waste of money. There's a lot of reskinning in the board game world. It happens all the time. There's no shame in it either. There's also mostly nothing to brag about, though. There's a lot to brag about in Duel for Middle-earth, and that's because it's so much more than a reskin of Seven Wonders Duel. This is a development of the system, and that development has been used in the service of making this game feel like a Tolkien game. The new map, the flight of the hobbits away from the Nazgul, all of this feels so Tolkienian in such an easily graspable way. Getting a Tolkien fan who knows nothing about games to try War of the Ring might be a bit of a stretch, but Duel for Middle-earth will bewitch them straight away. This is a simple game, but with so much depth and so much to consider on the opposite side of the table. This really is a duel, and the think and double think the card drafting mechanism engenders is bloody fabulous. This might just be the best game released in 2024, and one that I will play for a long time. It's better than this, for instance.
Oh, Owlie's beard! Enough with the quail sauce. Give me the meat and give it to me raw.
Fucking hacks.
Yo, 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 this is Editing Ben. You can tell because my PC with the RGBs in the background. I'm here to tell you, if you're going to PAX Unplugged, you want to go to the Grand Gamers Guild booth, number 2659. Gonna double check that. 2659, and you can go and you can buy Endeavour Deep Sea, you can get Tea and an Og late pledges, and you can go and see Mark, and you can say, yo Mark! And if you do that, you'll be cool, because using the word yo is cool and that. Anyway, go to GGG2659 at PAX Unplugged, buy some stuff, tell them Ben sent you, go, alright Mark, I was sent by Ben, and I'd like to thank them for sponsoring this video and that. Right, back to the grindstone. It's not really work.
Portuguese-designed pair of Roland Costa have quietly, with games like Café and Dompierre, been putting out some of the best Eurogames around. Stevens, though, might just be the game that gives them the recognition that they so richly deserve. The theme is one that is very dear to Roller's heart. The story of a Cornish businessman surviving the Lisbon earthquake, opening a glass factory and becoming one of the engines behind the Industrial Revolution in Portugal. Now, this story might not be hugely prepossessing for those not interested in Portuguese history or glass making, but if you're into games, the design of this one will be. Stevens is one of those beautifully economic Euro games that seems willfully simple at first, but by increment becomes engrossing and challenging. All you can do on your turn is hire a worker or take a piece of glass to help you fulfill a contract. But the ripples from those simple actions turn into waves by the end of the game. There's also a wonderful mutual engine building idea that feels really original, even if the art direction makes the game feel traditional. It is the simplicity to depth ratio, though, that makes this feel like a game that was designed at another time. This feels like a design that has quality of gameplay in mind, not the virtuosity of the designer. Stevens is both deep and simple. There is no navel-gazing here. This is a game built so you will enjoy yourself, and you will. Unmatched is my absolute favourite skirmish game. What is so brilliant is the way a gracefully simple base system is built upon by decks of faction cards that are really well designed. They deliver complexity in manageable chunks and theme in buckets. I was really blown away by how thematic the Shakespeare version of Unmatched was, and while I know shag all about Japanese history, the characters of the protagonists in this set jump out through the very clever use of mechanisms. Oda Nobunaga hits hard and uses his honor guard to flank his opponents and grind them into the floor. Tamame Gosen flits around the board, letting off arrows and inflicting death by 1,000 flicks. The best thing about Unmatched, though, is the sheer variety in the system. This could be your single game, the one you base your lifestyle around, or you can dip in and out when the theme appeals. This is a really brilliant system, and I would recommend it to anyone to give it a go. And this is coming from someone who's deeply suspicious about skirmish games.
Do you want to sub? Yes, I do. Subbing is the greatest thing to do. Yeah!
Thank you for watching. You can like the video if you liked the video. You can sub to the channel. Down below you'll find a link to the best Discord in gaming and to my merch store where there's loads of cool stuff. You can even help to make these videos by going to patreon.com/5G4D and backing the show, like these lovely people. Right, I'm off to experience one of the wonderful Berlin Christmas markets before global warming makes winter a distant and fond memory.